Hey everyone, this is Dominick from the Comic Book Report YouTube channel, doing another guest review for Organic Price Books. And today we're going to be taking a quick look at the Ultimates Omnibus from Marvel Comics. The issues in this volume were written by Mark Millar and illustrated by Brian Hitch. The issues were first published by Marvel Comics beginning in 2002. The Omnibus edition itself collects Ultimates issues 1 through 13, Ultimates 2 issues 1 through 13, Annual number 1, and Ultimates 2 number 1 Variant Sketch Edition. This oversized hardcover comes in at 856 pages. Taking a look at that cover of the dust jacket, this is the standard cover for this 2022 reprint. There was a direct market cover as well. I'll see if I can put a snippet up so you can see what it looks like to compare. Overall, I do prefer this standard edition cover. I think it's just a really sleek color design. It showcases the best of the Ultimates, and I just really enjoy it. Overall, it really is a great way to show off Hitch's artwork, which is really indicative of what you can expect throughout the omnibus itself. On the back of the dust jacket, you can see the covers for the issues included in this omnibus. Really sleek. I like the layout. It's pretty straightforward, but I think that, again, we get a good idea of the art we have inside, and I love seeing all these little thumbnailed graphics of all the issues. It reminds me of what we see in a lot of the Silver Age collections from Marvel, but it's nice to see it in a more modern omnibus as well. Now I do want to go ahead and take a closer look at the dust jacket itself, show you what the interior flaps of the dust jacket look like, as well as what it looks like as kind of a seamless one printout dust jacket. And after that, we'll take a look at the under the dust jacket artwork that's included on this edition. I really like it. The under the dust jacket artwork does appear to be a kind of wraparound image, which is nice to see. The dust jacket as well, again, very stylish. I love Brian Hitch as an artist, so maybe I'm a bit biased here, but I love the look of the dust jacket. Overall, looks great just taking a look at it. Looks great on a bookcase. Very pleased. And as we take a look at the under the dust jacket artwork, I will say for those that noticed on the dust jacket on the back cover, there was a parental advisory for this collection. I think that's probably due to violence, maybe a bit of language, and some sexual situations. No outright nudity, but there is some more risque panels at a couple points throughout this book. So please be advised for those applicable audiences regarding this rating here. And now just really quickly before we dive into the collection proper, I did want to give a quick look at the binding. It is a nice sewn binding, and I know my copy at least has a nice big eye, so very little gutter loss on this. The binding seems pretty secured. I'm very happy with it overall. It's great to see that bit of an eye there. And at any rate, that's the binding. And with that out of the way, we can jump into the collection itself. The book starts, as many do, with the kind of front matter, title page, publication information. We also do have a bit of an introduction provided before the issues, which I always like to see as well, before diving into the book itself. Now, we do have both 13-issue volumes of those first two Ultimate series by Mark Millar and Brian Hitch. These are the only ones that they did for this Ultimates title before it went off to other creators, if I'm understanding that correctly. These are really great self-contained maxi series bundled together in one big omnibus collection. Something to note about this Ultimates collection as well is that if the title didn't give it away, this is part of Marvel's Ultimate Universe, which means it does not take place in the 616 mainstream Marvel universe, but rather is in a different part of the Marvel multiverse. This is the same universe that has the Brian Michael Bendis Ultimate Spider-Man run, and where Miles Morales got his start as well. There were, of course, various other titles in that universe as well, like Ultimate X-Men and Ultimate Fantastic Four and so forth. The novelty of this universe in many ways is that it was a way to refresh these characters, these situations, this world for new audiences, more contemporary audiences at the time, around the year of 2000-ish. Like I said, Ultimates came out in 2002, and it was a really great way to jump in with these beloved characters, but with a new spin and with no necessary need for prior reading or any other context. You could go in completely blank slate and just start this as a brand new comic book reader. Now, the name of this title is The Ultimates. That's referring to the group of superheroes known in this universe as the Ultimates. The 616 universe would know these characters' team as the Avengers, of course. So when you think of the Ultimates, just think, hey, this is an Avengers book. This is that gathering of superheroes that are fighting to right wrongs and and generally save the day. Something else that's really great about this run is that the characters are in many ways more flawed than some of their mainstream counterparts, at least by my reading. I think a lot of the characters and superheroes, I say with quotation marks, they feel very human, they feel very layered, and they feel, again, flawed. These are not the squeaky clean, pristine heroes you might be used to reading from all the way back in the Silver Age. These are modern character constructs that have a bit of nuance and have a bit of darkness even with the heroes. Because of that, I think that there's a really big audience that will find these characters a lot more relatable and modern and layered in some ways. I think that there's another branch of the audience that might feel a little alienated seeing some of their heroes in perhaps not the most squeaky clean light atop the pedestal, so to speak, but I do think that it makes for an interesting character study. I also really like seeing some of the changes they made to some of these characters. I think Thor in particular has a much more kind of hippie, free-spirited vibe to him that I haven't really seen in any other incarnation, and overall, it was just an entertaining read. As far as the storylines go for the Ultimates and the Ultimates 2, which are collected in this omnibus, I want to be very general and vague, as I really hope you can read this and enjoy it for yourself. And some of the novelty of this book as well comes from the kind of twists and turns that come with the central plot lines. Suffice it to say, much of the first arc is really about the gathering of these heroes, the assembling of the team of Ultimates, and them trying to fight bad guys, especially when one of their members is effectively kidnapped, and they're trying to basically come together as this team. They're dealing with things like public opinion and kind of optics on situations. I think that that's really interesting with the character of Bruce Banner, the Hulk, and how he kind of is within this beginning of the Marvel Ultimates universe. Overall, the scope is truly epic. This is a gigantic ensemble cast of characters that are trying to save the day. We also have Nick Fury looking suspiciously like Samuel L. Jackson, and that really brings me into another point I have about the stories in this volume and this whole Ultimate lines in general, is that I really believe that the Ultimates served as a foundational inspiration for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU. Not only do you have a Samuel L. Jackson looking Nick Fury model, but you have a lot of the mainstream MCU heroes done in this contemporary setting, meaning they don't come from back in the 50s or whatever. This is kind of more or less modern day, at least circa the 2000s, and I think that because of that, this really feels fresh. I think that some of the characters and their flaws that we see throughout the Ultimates can be reflected in the MCU counterparts to a certain degree, and I really liked that. I think that if you're a fan of the MCU in general, there is a lot to love within the pages of the Ultimates. That being said, it still does feel dated. This comic series is now over 20 years old, and you can see that with how they handle certain topics, as well as their pop culture references that are littered throughout. There's a whole sequence involving Freddie Prinze Jr., for example, who was much more of an it actor back in the early 2000s, that now modern audiences, while they might know who Freddie Prinze Jr. is, or maybe not, it does feel like a weird pull, versus when this came out, that was a much more fresh reference. So even with a, air quotes, modern refresh of the Avengers and these heroes, there is still some things that show their age within the Ultimates, but if you can handle that, this really is a pretty fantastic run. I absolutely love the art we have throughout from Brian Hitch. There is a kind of realistic approach to the character models here that I do like seeing in Hitch's artwork. I've read what he's done with some of the Fantastic Four and some other series throughout the years, but what he's done in the Ultimates is some of my favorite, to be honest with you. After the Ultimates and the Ultimates 2, we do have a good, generous portion of extras, along with the annual that appears to be at the back of the book for some reason. But again, I love the extras. I think if you're a fan of the artwork throughout this book, you will absolutely love all of the extras they've included at the back of this omnibus. I know for sure I did. There's even some scripts, I believe, some sketch work. Very, very fun collection. I think that this is definitely one to have on any Marvel fan's bookcase, particularly if you're a fan of the Ultimates universe or the Avengers in general. And I think if you've never checked out the Ultimates and you're a fan of the MCU, this might be a great gateway into the world of the Avengers. And personally, if you've never checked out Brian Hitch's artwork, there might be no better showcase than what we have within the pages of this book. There are some incredible fight sequences, some incredible sense of motion, and just these beautiful battlescapes that we see across splash pages. Really well done, and in many ways not replicated, at least in my opinion, to this degree. There's so much more to talk about with this title, but I'll leave that for you to enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this quick overview for the Ultimates Omnibus. If you enjoyed this review, you can definitely find more like this on my channel, The Comic Book Report, and if you're interested in picking up your own copy of the Ultimates, please check out organicpricedbooks.com. Thanks for watching,